As with all the other videos linking free agents to teams, I have to put the big disclaimer at the beginning saying, hey, if this player actually leaves, he goes to another team, he signs before this video is uploaded, and after this audio is recorded, then my apologies. This kind of thing is never really set in stone since I pre-record videos the day beforehand, but I feel a little bit safer with this kind of topic, mostly because when it comes to the player we're talking about and the team that he's been linked to, there are a lot more dominoes that need to fall before this guy eventually signs on, and we actually see a contract get established. So, we're going over, once again, the Colorado Avalanche recent Stanley Cup champion and current free agent in the market at the time of recording this audio, Nazem Kadri, 31 years old, 6 feet, 192. He had a boatload of points last season. He scored at a 100-point pace, getting 87 points in 71 games played. And with all the speculation around this guy, there's an idea floating around there saying, hey, Nazem Kadri probably wants the bag. He probably wants a long-term, high AAV deal. And there's another idea floating around there saying that, hey, Nazem Kadri might actually just take a short-term deal, go the John Klingberg, Taylor Hall route, and try to get the bag next year. There are a few possibilities that throw themselves out as options, but this video is just kind of going over a different destination possibility as well. Because when it comes to different NHL insiders, we have seen some reports going out there saying that Nazem Kadri might actually be heading to the New York Islanders. This was a hit done on NHL Tonight, by David Pagnotta of the Fourth Period. He went over onto the show and talked about how there actually are some people around the NHL who believe that Kadri to the Islanders is going to happen. It hasn't happened yet because the Islanders need to free up some cap space, but from the eyes of those in the know, it's apparent that Kadri to Long Island might actually be a done deal, just waiting to be revealed to the public after the Islanders make some secondary moves. Now, we're going over onto this article on EyesOnIsles.com. This is the Islanders version of Fansided, where an article written by James Nichols from earlier yesterday talks about the newest scoop as to what the Islanders could actually do to free up that salary cap space and get Nazem Kadri onto their squad. Now, this is the same video that we just looked at on NHL Network. Pagnotta says this about the entire situation. It's actually written out and transcribed on this article, so very big thank you to James Nichols for writing this post. Pagnotta said on the Twitter video on NHL Network, there are a few different dominoes that are eventually going to fall here once this does come into play and is officially finalized. The Islanders have some house cleaning they need to do with some of their restricted free agents. My understanding is that's moving forward as well. It's just a matter now with $11 million in cap space, clearing some additional space to make all the pieces fit. The one player that is continuously part of trade speculation is Josh Bailey. He's got 2 years left on his contract, $5 million AAV. My understanding is that he is a player that is still out there that is somebody they're trying to move. Now, this article on EyesOnIsles.com says that trading Josh Bailey seems to make the most sense as a pure salary cap dump. As Pagnotta stated, relieving his $5 million AAV helps free up the space for other dominoes to fall, but the reason why he makes the most sense is that the veteran Islanders forward does not have any trade protection. However, on the latest edition of the Daily Faceoff Rundown podcast with Frank Seravalli and Jason Gregor, Seravalli stated he believes another name, Anthony Beauvillier, is the obvious candidate to be on the move. This is the transcription of the DFO Rundown podcast. You see and hear the rumors out there, and you don't really know quite what to make of it with the New York Islanders because anyone could see them signing Kadri. And the fact that it's gone on this long, you think back to last year or 2 years ago when they announced 4 signings in September. Fact is, you've got to move money. Noah Dobson needs a new deal. Romanov needs a new deal. My guess, if the Islanders are indeed signing Kadri, they're gonna have to move someone, and my guess would be Anthony Beauvillier. We've heard his name in the mix on the move, and this was pre-NHL Draft. Clearly, that's the one player the Islanders have on their roster that I think they can actually get something of value in return for, as opposed to having to push to try and unload a different contract. Now, Anthony Beauvillier has indeed been in the trade discussion sphere for a while now. He's 25 years old, 5'11", 181 as a left-handed forward, signed till the end of 2024, making $4.15 million a season. Last year, he had 34 points in 75 games played. Admittedly, he is not the best forward on the Islanders. but he's a pretty good middle six capable guy that can play top 6 minutes as well. That was exemplified when he was just under a point per game in the playoff run for the Islanders last year. He actually is a pretty talented player when he shows up. But for Beauvillier, we have seen rumors linking him with the Montreal Canadiens. There was a video we made like a year ago talking about the idea of a Romanov for Beauvillier swap, which is kind of funny because Romanov did eventually go over to that team. But if this were to be the case today, what the Islanders would be doing if they traded Beauvillier away is they would actually be improving by quite a lot. Because if you trade away Beauvillier, you bring in Kadri, you keep all the other defensemen RFAs that you have here. This is a team that actually is improving by quite a bit because Kadri, I would say, is in a much higher echelon of offensive production and capability than Beauvillier is at this point. However, Kadri, of course, is 6 years older than the guy. Let's go back over to the Eyes on Owls article and go over what Nichols has to say, concluding this entire conversation. Sarah Bailey's inkling that it is Beauvillier instead of Bailey to be moved comes with the idea that the Islanders would receive something of value in return. Maybe that means Beauvillier is packaged with something in order to bring in a scoring winger the Islanders have desperately needed, or maybe it means they'll be able to retrieve some significant assets to elevate what's believed to be a thin prospect pool while they make an effort to return to the playoffs. Whatever the case may be, there are clearly going to be multiple moving parts in order to fit Kadri under the Islanders' salary cap. There are a few assets on the Islanders' current roster that could fetch a significant return, but there is no arguing that if Kadri signs and the Isles are able to pull off a deal that adds an impact scoring winger, they'll be better than the team that was iced for 21-22, with the hopes of returning to the playoffs well in May and June 2023. Now that's a pretty vanilla way to end off this article, which I think is pretty alright. Link in the description if you want to go ahead and read the full piece as well as get the Twitter video link. But when it comes to Beauvillier getting traded away, if you're talking about the same stuff that we talked about last year, where it's, oh, Beauvillier for maybe a guy in the same caliber of an Alexander Romanov, then I definitely do think there is a lot of potential to add a very good opportune scorer. Of course, though, you would have to say that the cap hit has to be cheaper. I mean, that's the entire reason you're trading Beauvillier away in the first place, not only because you can get something of value in return, but because of that 4.15 AAV salary. That is a pretty significant amount of money, and if you go over to the Islanders and their cap situation right now, they've got $11 million to re-sign Noah Dobson, re-sign Alexander Romanov, re-sign Kiefer Bellows, and then potentially sign Nazem Kadri too. There are more than one moving parts to the Kadri to Long Island conversation than meets the eye. So, Todd in the comments your thoughts about what the Islanders should be doing here in this situation if they wanted to free up the necessary cap space to sign Nazem Kadri to a contract. Now, he still is a free agent at the time of recording this audio. He might not be a free agent before this video is uploaded at 10 a.m. PST tomorrow, so Thursday, August 4th. But in the odd chance that he actually does sign with some ghost team that pops up out of nowhere with an $8 or $9 million AAV deal, then that's my bad. I'll go out there and talk about how this video was absolutely pointless to make. But with all the conversations going around the past few days, and now with even more discussion talking about Islanders' potential trades, which would open up the space to sign Kadri, I'm feeling a little bit more safe that this content is able to go out there without any qualms. So, talk in the comments all your thoughts about Nazem Kadri going over to the Islanders, whether or not it's Josh Bailey, Anthony Beauvillier, any of these other guys that need to be traded to free up that space, and what exactly is the plan here with Dobson, Romanov, Kiefer Bellows, and the $11 million in cap space that you have right now. Do you like this idea? Do you not like it? Tell me in the comments why or why not. Also, what are your thoughts on Anthony Beauvillier? If you're a fan of any other team, would you actually want this type of guy added onto your squad? If you're an Islanders fan, where do you think Beauvillier is going to get traded, and what do you think you could actually get in return for him? We had seen Montreal rumors popping up here and there, so if you're a Canadiens fan, then hey, what do you think about Beauvillier? He's a guy from Quebec, so all of a sudden there is a much more grandiose idea of him coming over to Montreal like we had been talking about the past year. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Juraj rolls 99, and bye.